Almost 99.9% of all the discussion about recruiting yesterday was the Arch Manning commitment to Texas, and deservedly so. But there were other players who committed. Baylor got another safety as well. And we're now joined by Grayson Grundhoefer, SicEm365.com, recruiting analyst and co-host with Craig on the Bearcast. Grayson, under the radar because of what the day meant for Arch Manning and Texas, Baylor yet added another player to their class and the second safety in their class. And you kind of describe him for us.
Yeah, so the guy, obviously, that you're talking about is DJ Coleman out of Mesquite Horn. And he's one of those guys who came on a Baylor camp visit, and then he left with an offer immediately following that trip. And then he was actually able to get back on Baylor's campus within a week. And he was on campus this week, I believe, on Wednesday. And then, of course, he announced on Twitter that he was going to, announce his commitment on Thursday. Of course, it ended up being Baylor. The kind of interesting part was that he got a Florida State offer right after the Baylor offer, too. So you kind of thought, okay, maybe he's going to blow up a little bit. Maybe he's going to wait a little while to take his time to make a decision. But instead, he was just all in with Baylor from the moment he got the offer. He's a guy who, when I saw him at camp, you see a guy who's got very good length. He's like right around 6'1", 6'3" wingspan. But then you see how, strong and thick he is. He's listed at 190. I think he's probably closer to 195 or 200. So a great build already, and a guy who I think will probably fit in really well to the boundary safety position at Baylor. Basically what Christian Morgan played for the Bears last year. So he'll bring that athleticism. He'll have to play in a 2-high look next to the field safety and be a guy who they're going to have to count on with his range and his speed. So a nice pickup and a guy that essentially replaces Javion Wilcox, who, of course, decommitted from Baylor and committed to TCU a week ago.
Grayson, Arch Manning committed to Texas yesterday, and we'll get your opinion on that in a second, but there's always a domino effect, when the schools who got told no on a player then have to react to it. Particularly Georgia's the one I'm thinking of. Will Georgia now start to look at other options, possibly including Austin Novosad, because they missed out on Arch Manning?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance that Austin is on Georgia's radar. Austin is also on Texas A&M's radar as well, as he's going to the 7-on-7 tournament this weekend in College Station. The state tournament's always there, and so he's going to visit A&M as well. So, yeah, I could see Georgia potentially making a move at Austin, especially after missing out on Arch. But, guys, I really, everything I hear from Austin, the vibe that I get is it's pretty much going to be Baylor or Ohio State. It's just really hard for a number of reasons. The first one is it's hard to replace those relationships that Austin's already built, particularly at Baylor. But, he's been talking to Ohio State now for a while, too. So he's built a strong relationship with both. And then he also wants his, recruitment to end on July 1st. So, that's a lot of work for any staff to do to try to flip a guy who's kind of got a date set. And then, of course, he's going to the Elite 11. And I'm thinking this next week at the Elite 11, he's probably going to want to rep the school that he's going to go to, whether that's Baylor or Ohio State. And so, yeah, I think that's part of it. The other part is Austin's really intrigued by the offensive system ran at, particularly Ohio State and Baylor. And if you look at what Georgia does, I don't know if that's going to be very appealing to him. The way they run their offense is very run heavy. It doesn't really accentuate the quarterback entirely. Now they haven't had, a number one pick quarterback because they decided to start other guys over Justin Fields. But I just think that part of it is probably missing as well from Georgia. So I still expect it to be Baylor and Ohio State, even though I could see Georgia turning their sights to Austin for sure.
So looking at the month of June here, they've got, 6 commits now over the last 3.5 weeks or so. Been very active, been very busy, up to 15 total, and Novosad is one of those. But Grayson, where is the next place that Baylor now looks? What's the next thing on the calendar as far as this recruiting class goes?
Yeah, another official visit weekend. So the third in a row. So another opportunity for Baylor to dive in and add some more commits, which I fully expect they will. actually, I feel really good right now about 2 or 3 guys becoming Bears relatively soon. And so for that reason, you kind of look up and you go, oh my gosh, this class might be at, 20 by the time June gets here or June ends. And so, that's kind of where they're at. This weekend in particular, there's probably going to be a bigger focus on the cornerback position. They have 2 cornerbacks who will be attending the official visit. So that's a position they don't have any guys currently committed. So I do think that's an area where they could definitely maybe add a guy. And I would also say right now, defensive line is a huge emphasis for this staff. They're really trying to build that defensive line because they're going to lose so many after this season. So that's kind of where they're at right now as far as official visits go. They have a camp this weekend as well. They'll have one more camp at the end of July. And then, of course, fall camp is almost here, after that July camp. So that's kind of where things are at right now, just trying to shape this class while also being very smart and tactical about the guys that you take and the guys that you maybe wait on. Because you got to be smart with the spots that you have. You don't want to fill up too quickly, especially when there's guys who could emerge during their senior year.
You mentioned Austin Novosad, and that, of course, is the bell cow of the 2023 class, with all due respect to everybody else. And we know what happened yesterday with Arch Manning. We know there's other quarterbacks who've committed as well, class of 2023. No matter what other services say about Austin Novosad, where would you put him in that group among those who are 5-star?
Yeah, I've probably talked about this a lot with Craig on the Bearcast, but every time I watch Austin play, I get more and more impressed. Obviously, the offer list is there, and I really think he's going to go to the Elite 11 and really, really perform well. And so all of that, matching the film, matching how many times I've gotten to see him in person compared to the others, might make me slightly biased. But I do think that when I watch him play compared to the other guys who are, the 5-stars, the top of the class, I see some things that are very comparable between Austin and those guys. And I also see areas where I believe Austin could potentially have a higher ceiling or be better. So, for me, I think he's right around probably a top 60, top 70 player in the entire country. And if you're that and you're a quarterback, that probably fits you into right around the top 6 quarterbacks in the entire country for the 2023 class. I think he could you could make a case that he could be the number 1 quarterback. I think you could make a case that he's the number 8 quarterback, but I think he definitely fits in that group, that top level of quarterbacks. And I posted a tweet yesterday after Arch committed, but I mean, the Big 12 has Arch Manning committed to Texas, Jackson Arnold committed to Oklahoma, and Austin Novosad committed to Baylor. There's not a better trio of quarterbacks committed in a conference in the country right now.
Grayson Grundhoefer, SicEm365 Radio, recruiting analyst, with us on 365 Sports.
So we saw Jeremy Sohan goes top 10 last night. Kendall Brown goes second round. What were your thoughts on the NBA draft in Baylor basketball?
Yeah, I mean, as a Spurs fan, I mean, it couldn't have gone any better. I mean, are you kidding me? This is one of those kind of surreal things. I was actually at one of my best friend's weddings when I heard the news that he was actually going to be a San Antonio Spur, and you kind of saw the draft shape up, and you saw the guys that got chosen and kind of how it was all unfolding, and you get to 9, and I thought Jeremy was going to go before 9. I pretty much had everything confirmed that he was going to be a top 10 pick, but it started to lean like he was going to be maybe a top 8 pick. So to see him fall to there, I definitely thought there was a chance the Spurs could take him. They did. I think it's a great landing spot for him. I mean, if you kind of look at, the Spurs history and track record of developing talent and also developing foreign players, I think it fits really, really well. And I think Jeremy's going to fit in so well with the culture of the Spurs, and he's going to get an opportunity to play right away while also being developed. So very happy to see that. As far as Kendall Brown goes, it's really tough because obviously he elected to leave early. A lot of people had him in mocks going, inside the top 20. And then as the draft process unfolded, literally over the last 2 weeks, you started to see him fall and just fall and fall and fall. And then last night you're sitting there and you're honestly wondering, is he going to get drafted? Did he really leave early to get undrafted? But He was able to get drafted at 48, which great for him, very happy for him. But it also makes you wonder, did he make a mistake? Should he have stayed another year at Baylor, developed more, and been a first-round pick? That's something that I think everyone's probably pondering today. But I know it was something that I thought about, and I felt bad for him as well, just the fact that he fell as far as he did.
Yeah, Grayson, there's something weird that happens in the draft between picks 26, 27, and 50, where it stops being about maybe who is the most athletically gifted, or it goes against that. But for Soc'Em in particular, I said I was on the radio in San Antonio this morning, and he's like the Spursiest player that they've gotten a draft in maybe the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, exactly. And he honestly fits what they've been trying to build as well. I mean, you look at this team, they're just so long and lanky. You see Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, even guys like DeJounte Murray and Joshua Primo. They're all very long. They all have the long wingspans, and, they're versatile. And I think that's what the Spurs are trying to build. So that part makes a lot of sense. And also, of course, just fit. Just kind of everything that Soc'Em does when you watch him play really fits what the Spurs have always kind of been about. That hard work, that toughness, the versatility on the defensive side. I just think it's going to be a great fit for him, and I expect him to make an impact this year and really have a great career as a Spur.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Grayson. Thanks for your time. Grayson Grundhoefer a couple of times this week after the big weekend visits and commitments over the weekend, last weekend or earlier this week, and now, of course, as we head to the weekend yet again. 7 on